YouTube and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today we're going to be doing a prep, mask and base coat video on this Toyota Hilux. So the damage that we've got is mainly up the back here, so a few small repairs down the bottom there. I did a filler repair on this quarter panel here too, and then also doing the bonnet as well. So this car here actually belongs to one of the guys that works in the office at my workplace. That's the guy there. He's actually an Irish guy, and he already knew me before I knew him. He started working here maybe a year or two ago, and he already knew me. So he was watching my videos prior to even starting here. So I actually originally wasn't even going to do a video on this, and then I started prepping it up, and when he came down to pull a few clips out of his car, he said, "Hey, you're going to be doing a video on this." I said, yeah, why not? I'll do a video on your car for you. So as you can see here, I primed up the quarter panels the night before. As I did mention before, I did actually do the filler repairs myself as well. And that was mainly because the panel guys, the body men, as you would call it in America, we call them panel beaters here in Australia. They were, I think it was even 3 people down. So they were a little bit busy, and we were a touch quiet because there were 3 people down. I think like one of the guys was at trade school, one of the guys left, and the other guy was on holidays. So I don't mind helping out in those kind of circumstances. But continuing on with the job here, this is where my filler repairs were. I then put a good 3 coats of primer. I found that's all that's necessary most of the time. If 3 heavy coats of primer isn't going to fix it, well, yeah, it's probably going to need more filler and a little bit more primer. There is a limit to sort of everything, and you don't want to go and overload the panel with too much material either. It just leads to other issues like delamination and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I would obviously do before I prep my panels up is clean them down. Now I think I'd already cleaned these panels down prior to recording this video, because as I did mention, I wasn't even going to make a video, but the Irish dude in the office said, hey, make a video on it. So yeah, I obviously did clean the entire panels down prior to hitting record on my camera. One thing you may notice is, and I've been doing this a lot lately, not on every single job, but most jobs I will do it. You may notice that even for my prep work, I will leave the piece of plastic over the car. I just started doing it, and it's very helpful, and it keeps the car a lot cleaner. So I highly recommend it, and it's just one of those things that now I do it. I think, why haven't I been doing this my entire career? It only takes at best an extra 2 minutes, and it does keep the car cleaner. And let's just say I needed to do a little bit of extra primer work here and there, or the guy on the job next to me is doing a bit of primer work, you're not risking getting overspray on the entire car. So yeah, definitely a handy thing to do. Leave the piece of plastic on and just, well, I mean, the plastic's already there from when you've primed it up anyway, so you're not even wasting an extra piece of plastic. It just takes an extra minute to tape around, and yeah, that's a good little technique there. So I obviously started off by blocking those primed sections down. I then hit them with the orbital sander with some 400 grit. So I'll usually start blocking with 180 grit on a average repair. On a good repair, I'll probably go 240 or 320. And from memory, it was a few weeks ago I actually did this job. From memory, I just blocked this on with 320 because I knew they were pretty good. And yeah, after block, I'll go orbital sander with 400, then sand the edges by hand with 500. I'll then 800 or 600 the blend panels. So I do a bit of both. These are Toyota, obviously, so that they don't have like a big, thick, chunky orange peel. So I've found that 800 is enough to knock that orange peel out. However, most of the European vehicles, I'll just go straight up with 600 just to knock that orange peel out a lot quicker, because I've found if you use 800 grit on the European vehicles, you'll just burn through, twice the amount of sandpapers. However, you do have to be very careful that you're not just going to go and cut through the clear coat into the base coat, and then you'll have to put color over it, because these are just blend panels really. So all I'm going to be doing up this end of the panel is just putting some clear coat, and I'm going to be blending the color sort of halfway through that panel. But yeah, I would recommend people that are, say, apprentices or unexperienced to not use 600 grit on your blend panels. So all my apprentices, I'll just say use 800 grit and still be very careful, because you can still burn through the panel, burn through the clear coat even with 800 grit. But yeah, when you've got that little bit more experience with the orbital sanders, then I would say, yeah, if you're confident, go 600, because you can clear over 600 grit, you definitely can. If you're using an ultra thin clear, you might want to be a little bit careful. You might find that the clear coat does shrink back into the scratches a little bit. But yeah, look, for me, I've found the clear coats we use pretty fine to go over 600 grit, as long as you put the 2 coats over there, which I always do these days. So the clear coat I did end up using on this job is the quartz liquid glass. However, that's going to be in the second video. Even this video here got up to about 30 minutes, which is, yeah, I try to cut them off at around 30 minutes these days for a couple of reasons. I mean, they just get too long otherwise, and yeah, even just to narrate them, that's a long time to sit behind my computer and narrate, and yeah, I don't always get them right the first time, so you know, a 30-minute video will usually take me an hour or so just to do the narration, let alone all the editing aside, but it's all good. Yeah, we'll do the clear coat stage in the next video, so be sure to stay tuned for that one. And the reason I did decide to use the quartz liquid glass is I've been saving it for a special occasion. I had a little bit left, like half a can or something like that, that Spray Guns Direct sent out for purpose of review, and I didn't want to just keep using it on customers' cars. So when this car came in from the guy in the office, I said, hey, do you want me to use some killer, awesome quality clear coat on it? Now, I've put something funny in here. This is a guy that I work with clowning around.
Got it. I gotta get some dubstep music on in the background.
I just wanted to put that in for a bit of a laugh, and just to remind you guys to have fun at work. You know, it doesn't have to be so serious. Literally, I do get to go to work and have a bit of fun. I think we've got a pretty stupid sense of humor, us painters. I don't know if it's partly sniffing paint fumes for most of my life, you know. And yeah, look, we'll just come up with nicknames for each other. Like that guy there, his name's Frizzle, you know, that we call it, his name's Frank, and I just call him Frizzle, you know, like Snoop Dio double jizzle type thing. I just came up with Frizzle one day, and it stuck, and yeah, it's just Frizzle, and he's just over there dancing in the corner. I thought that'd do well with some dubstep tunes on in the background, and we're always having a laugh about something, but at the same time still producing a nice amount of work. And as I say, I think it does make the day go quicker, and I work probably faster and better when I'm in a good mood. You know, if you've got the boss coming down and hounding you all the time, then it's probably just going to put you in a foul mood and make you not want to bust out that job and get it done that day. You'll be like, nah, stuff him, I'll do it in the morning. So I guess as much as anything, it's a message to bosses too, to just treat your workers you know, with a bit of respect, and look after them and they'll look after you. It goes both ways, you know what I mean? So yeah, we're pretty lucky here. The bosses don't come down and hound us or anything, because at the end of the day, they know that they don't have to come down and hound us to get the work done. So no, it's all good. Anyway, continuing on with the job, you may have noticed that I gave all the blend panels a Scotch Brite. I did end up prepping up the bonnet on this car, which is a hood for you Americans who may not be familiar with that term. Bonnet. So yeah, I also prepped up the front bumper cover. The front bumper cover off this thing had a little bit of damage on it, but it also had a few stone chips in it, and the entire bumper cover had like a textured finish to it from factory. So yeah, once you get that textured finish, you can't replicate it when you're spraying it for a second time, really. No real methods that's going to get that to look 100%, but the owner of the car didn't actually like it anyway. He said I would prefer a flat finish on it anyway, so we just ended up priming the entire bumper bar to hold all the texture down, and then sprayed it a flat finish. So yeah, continuing on with the masking, pretty straightforward. I find this stage the most difficult to narrate out of all of it, because I just see it as a bit of a monkey see, monkey do. You can see what I'm doing, just putting pieces of tape, backmasking and stuff like that. I do get comments every now and then saying, you know, every single time I watch you masking, I'll pick a new trick up. But as far as my main channel goes, I don't think I'm able to include too much of it because I really struggle narrating it. Already I'm just sitting here thinking, what do I say? You know what I mean? Like, I could talk your ear off doing prep work, I could talk your ear off doing spraying, but masking, yeah, it kind of stumps me when it comes to narration. So sorry about that, guys, but I do actually good opportunity to give my second channel a plug, the Gunman Raw. I do have lots of videos over there where I just talk to the camera live type thing, and then I'll upload it on that second channel. So go and check out that one if you do want a bit more in-depth on the masking stages. So yeah, now I've got all the masking done and I'm giving it a wax and grease remover, aka Prepsol. It's commonly called over here Prepsol. At the end of the day, that's just a brand, a PPG branded wax and grease remover. But yep, just wiping all the panels down to keep them nice and clean. That's another thing worth mentioning. Just always keep those panels clean while you're doing your prep work, when you're doing your masking. Keep all the edges nice and neat, and it will show through in the end result. You know, yeah, at the end of the day, that's what all us painters want. Most of us can apply the color pretty nice. We can usually apply the clear coat pretty nice, but you know, getting a nice clean job is what will really, yeah, sort of show the difference between the good and the bad, I think, anyway. You know, there's some people that can struggle getting clean jobs, and just take it back to basics, you know, just clean the panels down fastidiously, clean yourself down, and make sure your guns are clean. All those kind of really basic things will result in a good job, and this job here actually came out really clean. You'll have to hang around till part 2, as I did mention before, till you see the finished result. But yeah, I was really happy with how this job came up, as was the owner, you know. So what else can you ask for if the guy that owns the car and the guy that painted the car is happy? There's yeah, not much to complain about there. And look, I really do get, still, after what, I started in the trade in 2000, so it's 19 years, coming up to 19 years. I still get a kick out of it, you know. That's why I love this trade, you know. I can. This job actually took me all day, from the morning till right at the very end of the day. I didn't finish, so it was on a Friday, and yeah, it took me an entire day to do 2 quarter panels, front bumper, the bonnet, and a little bit of a back panel, you know. On paper, you'd say, geez, you'd have that done by lunchtime. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, it was the office guy's car, and he did want a really good job. You know, he was going around saying, "Oh, make sure you don't get dodgy masking edges around the tail lights. He wants them all painted properly." And honestly, I would love to have this amount of time to spray every single job. You know, it's a dream of mine, and I think it'll happen one day when I've got my own body shop again, which I do plan on doing, maybe within 5 years, 3 to 5 years. I've got a bit of a plan. I want to get like right ahead in life, and then, you know, get another body shop where I can slow down a bit and just have it more focused on quality than the numbers. Like where I'm working now here, it is more about just pumping the jobs out. It's smash repairs, and you know, you've just got to draw the line somewhere to speed the jobs up a little bit without, you know, dropping the quality too low. But yeah, that's something that I managed to do pretty well, actually. You know, the boss is very happy with my work, consistently doing good quality work, but lots of it, you know what I mean? So this, what I'm spraying here, is actually just a ground coat. I can't remember offhand how much I mixed up. I think it was like 850 mils of the top coat color. But then when I had a look at the job again, I'm like, you know what, that's not going to be enough. I'm going to have to put down a ground coat. So that's exactly what this is here. So using the DeVilbiss FLG5 1.4 for the ground coat. All I did was grab a bit of silver, this, that, and the other, threw them together off old mixers just off the bench that I'd used on other jobs, and yeah, throw that down first just to get basic coverage so that I wouldn't use as much of the matched colour. So as I was saying before, just keep it clean, you know, use a new tack rag. And new tack rags, if you figure it out, it's only like $1 or $2 for a new tack rag. So, you know, just grab a new tack rag if you have to. If that's going to make a difference in between a clean job and a dirty job, just grab a new one. You know, make sure your spray suit's clean, make sure you tack rag them multiple times, 2 or 3 times. Do it before base coat, before clear coat. Make sure that base coat is flushed off nice, obviously, before you go and tack rag over it. And obviously you're not going to be tack ragging in between coats of clear. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. But everything leading up to your clear coat, yeah, tack rag the hell out of it. Make sure the airline that your gun's plugged into is nice and clean. As you can see, that's kept fairly nice and clean. And as you'll see here, I've got that ground coat down first, made sure it was sort of 80% covered, you know, just to sort of start to hide the ground coat. And then I'm tack ragging again, opening up that tack rag so we're onto a nice clean new section, and then re-tack ragging it before I go and put my base coat blender down, which is what I've got in the gun here, which is 599. So basically all that is clear base coat, and that's going to help the blend, because yeah, those back sections of this bonnet here are going to be blend sections. However, I will be putting base coat over most of this bonnet here. Yeah, the colour was really good, and you'll be able to see that in the second video. So the bumper cover does obviously go edge to edge up to the fenders, and yeah, we've actually got a little bit of, I guess you could call it troubleshooting maybe. A very slight amount of mottling I did have in this bonnet, but we're going to knock that completely out with actually adding a little bit of this 599 to the base coat to basically dilute it and help it sort of lay down a little bit nicer. So yeah, a bit of a, you know, handy painter's trick to get the coarse metallics to lay down nicely. Now these 2 quarter panels had actually been sprayed by the owner, the Irish guy I was telling you about previously. I think he used to work up in Geraldton or something like that, which is a few hours north of Perth, up country. And I noticed only when I've got this 599 down, so that's actually another advantage of using the 599. It'll basically kind of emulate the clear coat. When a panel has been sanded down, it goes dull, as you just saw before I put the 599 down, and you can't really see any imperfections in it. But once you put the 599 down, it'll let you know what you're going to clear over before you clear over it. So there was a few nibs from when he sprayed it in the quarter panel, halfway through the quarter panel. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to dust a little bit of extra base coat of my fresh base coat over the top, which will hide those nibs. So yeah, another handy little thing. It'll also let you know if you've cut through anywhere that you may not have seen it when you're doing your prep work, and you might just need to put a little bit of base coat colour over your cut throughs or whatever it be. So yeah, just keep an eye, and always inspecting those panels as you move along with the job, you know. Don't just think, oh, well, that stage is done, I can move on and shut my eyes and not have to look at it. No, you've constantly got to be monitoring what you're doing and kind of being on the ball. So obviously next step is to get our colour down. I'm using my DeVilbiss DV1 HVLP Plus 1.2 digital version. So yeah, I haven't got much bad to say about this gun. It lays the metallics down very well. Look, at the end of the day, it's not foolproof. No spray gun is. Don't just go and think that, oh well, the Gunman made silvers lay down really well with that DV1. Well, you know, I'll be able to too. Like, it's like anything. It's only as good as the operator, really. So, and as you will see in a few minutes, you know, there was a slight bit of mottling in it, and that's not the spray gun's fault. It's just how it goes sometimes, and yeah, sometimes you've got to use those tricks by adding a little bit of 599 to it. But yeah, I would like to say, don't panic if on your first coat of base coat it does look a bit stripy, as it does here. It looks a little bit patchy and uneven. That's just how it seems to usually go on after your first coat, because I'm usually putting that first coat on to sort of hide the primer patches and get that little bit of coverage. So yeah, it will improve as it dries. You know, it's not going to look like that in a few minutes. But yeah, there's usually no need to panic in spray painting. I've found that that's not going to help, and yeah, a little bit of confidence does go a long way, I've found. I still remember the first job I sprayed. It was like the side of a XF Falcon. I didn't even know it was going to happen, and the tradesman, he was spraying a job. He put the colour down, crystal mint green on an XF Falcon, and he said, "You're going to clear this," and I was like, "What? Really?" Anyway, he gave me the gun, and there was not one run, and the car didn't even get polished. It was clean. It was literally the first job I sprayed, the first like sizable job, you know, exterior panels, was off the gun, and it didn't even get polished. So yeah, that did give me a bit of confidence straight off the bat, which was good for me and my career, I think, anyway. But yeah, sometimes just getting thrown in the deep end is the best way. I so didn't expect it. I was like, what, you know? And he's just like, there's the gun, clear it, you know. He did stand next to me. I said, oh, so is this around the distance that you need to go, and blah blah. And he's like, yep, go for it, man. Just smash a coat of clear on and put another one on after it. And yeah, the rest is history, I guess. And yeah, I've been loving spray painting ever since. My dad was actually a house painter and restorator when I grew up, so since the age of, wow, probably even before 5 years old, but definitely sort of, you know, 5 to 7 years old, I was actually working for my dad for pay. He'd get me, give me $5 an hour, you know, so I'd come to work with him, and I'd get myself, say, $20 or $30 for the day's work, and I'd save it up. And I've always liked sort of getting in and getting my hands dirty, you know. Most people do look up to their dad, I guess, and you know, I always liked making things look good. My dad's house is up country, and my paint still stands on his top guttering, which is quite a high roof on his home. You know, my paint still stands to this day. So I must have been 5 or 6 years old, up on trestles and just loving it. You know, I've always, yeah, as I say, always liked hard work, and I've done some real hard work. Sorry, I'm just going into story mode here because I'm running out of stuff to say, because I'm doing the same thing. I'm just spraying some Basecoat down. So yeah, bear with me for a few minutes until we're a bit further on in the video. Yeah, I actually have done really hard work. When I was working in the mines in Western Australia, I was doing RC drilling, so grade control and exploration, and we'd do 12 to I think 18 hours was the longest day I did. That's non-stop. You didn't even get to sit down for a break. Like basically you got these big drill rigs that will drill holes into the ground. They've got a massive compressor on them that will force air through the drill rod, and then it will force a sample up the inner core of the tube of the drill rod, and then that will come out what they call a cyclone. You'll get this big sample bag and a bucket, and then you'll have to basically carry these big heavy buckets around, creating rows of samples. So as the drill rod goes down, you'll take a sample every meter, and then the geologists will come along and look at the dirt, pan it or whatever they do. They'll say, yep, this at this depth we've got this kind of quality ore down there, or you know this is a bad area, we're not going to mine this area, or this is rich in minerals, we're going to open that up and we're going to dig some gold out or something like that. So yeah, I did that for a year. Most people wouldn't have even lasted their second swing, which is like their second tour of duty, I guess you'd call it. And I said to myself at the start, I said, look, I want to last a year. I set myself a goal, and that was the hardest year of work in my life. You would be doing 12 to, as I said, 18-hour days sometimes in the extreme environmental conditions of Western Australia. So sometimes in the middle of winter, it would be like -5 degrees in the morning. You'd get up and you'd have to start at, say, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, be out there. You'd have to cook breakfast for you and the guys, because this is just like exploration. You're out there in a caravan, sleeping in a caravan. So you'd have to do all your cooking and cleaning, getting your lunches ready. Then you get out to the rig freezing cold. You'd have to get the rig ready, do pre-starts and all that. And then by 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, it's stinking. That sun comes up, even in winter, and it's stinking hot. You're dragging those layers off while you're trying to snatch some bags off the side of the cyclone. And as I say, you weren't allowed to sit down. That is one of the worst things that you could do. You know, working in those extreme conditions, and you were literally not allowed to sit down for even 5 minutes. If you got caught sitting down, you would just get your ass kicked by the driller, the guy that's in charge. And then on the other side of it, I'd be working in open pit mines doing grade control, night shifts. You know, you'd be doing 12-hour shifts at night time, freezing your ass off in a Kalgoorlie winter, you know, while you're sick, extremely ill, getting yelled at by the drillers, you know, feeling like death warmed up. And yeah, that's hard work. So basically the moral to that story is I don't even see this as hard work anymore. I see it as enjoyable. But you know, sometimes I'll work hard at this job, if you know what I mean. So I will just knuckle in and get that job done that day, when, you know, some people just say, no, I'll do it on Monday. But yeah, I mean, I got minimal to no job satisfaction out of doing that work. Whereas coming back to this trade, so I did work in the mines for a year, as I mentioned before, and then coming back into this trade after a year off made me realize how much I loved it. And that was the time that I started this YouTube channel. So it was 6 or so months after that, I decided, you know what, I've always wanted to do that YouTube channel, and that's why I decided to start this YouTube channel up. So this is what I was mentioning earlier, how I basically diluted this color with a little bit of 599. Look, it wasn't bad. Re-looking at this footage, I probably could have cleared over it, but I could just see some slight mottling through that bonnet. So that's why I decided to do that sort of 50-50 mix of 599 with the base coat, put another nice sort of medium to wet coat over the top of it, and yeah, it laid down close enough to perfection for me anyway. I was happy, owner was happy. And as I say, next video we're going to be doing clear coat stage, and yeah, it came out killer. It came out like really just like the factory. You know, there was a couple of bits of nibs in the bonnet. You know, you're always going to get a few. You are more likely to get them in flat panels, sort of like panels that are laying down flat. Sometimes they can drop from the roof, but nothing major, you know. Enough to keep me and the owner happy, as I keep saying. So yeah, another thing, if you are actually having trouble with your blends as well, that 50-50 mix of 599 or clear base coat mixed with your base coat can actually help the blend out a bit nicer too. So, you know, sometimes on those silvers you might be in the booth, you might be like, oh, I'm not quite happy with that blend, I can still see it. Yeah, just do that 50-50 mix and it should blend out a lot nicer. So pressure settings for the DV1 is 1 bar on the digital. So 1 bar on the digital will read about 1.5 bar if you're not using a digital, if that makes sense. I've explained it in other videos and I'm tired of going over it again and again, but yeah, basically the digital gauge on the DV1s reads the pressure from a different section of the gun, so it will actually read a lower pressure than it will at the base of the gun. But yeah, still loving this DV1. I haven't got much bad to say about it. I get why they've put the price up, and you know, I can't blame them for it, but yeah, I mean, the price is starting to get it up there. I think they're going for around $750 Australian. That's what they seem to be popping up on eBay for here in Australia. But yeah, just keep in mind, if you do want one, I recommend going to Spray Guns Direct, and I do know they do deals, so just keep that in mind. Just ask them for a deal if you want. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Pardon the rant, but at the end of the day, if you made it this far, I'm sure you enjoyed it. In which case, you should hit the like button down below, leave a comment to let us know what you thought of the job, and yeah, stay tuned for next week when we'll be going through the clear coat stage. Until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.